The idea of projection has become quite popular in pop psychology and Instagram and TikTok. You may have heard it before, probably. How we hear about it a lot is the way that other people are projecting onto us, um, viewing you a certain way, and therefore it's a projection. What we don't hear a lot about is noticing where you might be projecting on somebody else and what your projections are reflecting back to you. Are we taking them as opportunities to see where we can grow? Or are we using them excuses to stay in the stories that we've built? That's what we're going to be looking at today on day 23 of Rewired. I'm Jamie O'Connor, and if you're new here, this is Rewired. It's 365 days of daily practices for the spiritually curious high achiever. And we have gone on a journey to recognize the stories that create the beliefs and the experience of the world we live in, and that we may not actually be seeing fully what the world really is, that the world is just a projection of the stories that we have. And if we're willing to start to see ourselves fully, to fully accept all of ourselves, then we will have the opportunity to see the world from the perspective of love. And today we're going to talk about one of the pathways to see ourselves fully, and that is with our projections. When we view or see somebody as attacking us in some way, or we are attacking another person, and by attacking, I mean that in many different ways. The most prevalent of one is judgment. In either of these instances, they are often a projection of how we see ourselves. So when we take something as attacking us, when we believe that somebody or someone is doing something to us, we have the opportunity in that moment to look at what we are perceiving as the attack and where we do that ourselves out in the world, where we hold those same judgments out to others. And then the more important layer is, how do we attack ourselves that way? When we're attacking ourselves that way, that is the unconscious part of our minds that drives so much of the stories and the beliefs that we don't see, that we are unwilling to see. And yet, if we start to see them, as we discussed yesterday, we will start to see the gifts underneath. We spend so much time shaming ourselves and shaming others, judging others, judging ourselves, that our true gifts never get to flower underneath the judgment. We never get to experience love from the perspective of a higher consciousness. Maybe we get glimmers of it, but the full embrace of it is out of reach. Now, our ego mind can really start to shiver at this idea because we can find so many reasons to justify that somebody else's behavior was wrong, that they were attacking us, that they're wrong for it. And it can feel like we're giving them a pass by looking at this other part of it, by being willing to see how we also do that same behavior in some way, often to ourselves and often to others. Now, this does not mean that you have to let shitty people have any part in your life. But when you start to accept this, see this, have deep compassion for yourself, and then therefore that person, it stops affecting you in the same way. You stop feeling so attacked and disempowered because you recognize that even if they are attacking you, they're doing it from their own disenfranchised view of the world. And you don't have to let that affect you. You take your power back by recognizing that when we feel attacked, it's because we are also an attacker. But when we heal these parts of ourselves, we are no longer vulnerable to attack because we don't feel attacked. It becomes a reflection back to them alone. So we are always willing to see. And when this happens, and when you start to embrace this idea, you start to see this idea, then any time that you feel a sense of being attacked, anytime you feel a sense of being wronged, that part of your mind that operates from love immediately sees it as a wayfinding sign. Oh, there's a part of me here that's ready to be seen. There's a part of me here that is ready to heal. There's a part of me here that is ready to be fully embraced. Let me find her or him. It no longer becomes vengeance against that person or harboring feelings of animosity towards that person, and it immediately gets turned into a experience of compassion for yourself, of love for yourself, which very quickly becomes love for the other. And love for the other does not mean you have to keep them in your life. In fact, most of the time, by the time you get to this place, you have come to learn such incredible boundaries that you don't have people like this in your life anymore. And you know how to gracefully set up the boundaries so that they don't affect you. If you're not there yet, that's okay. You will get there. I promise. As long as you stick to the work, whatever that looks like for you. And by the work, I mean being willing to open the curtain, look underneath, and see all of the places, all of the parts of you from a compassionate, curious, loving place. These are my favorite lessons in life, and I need them as reminders all the time. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to bring them to you. And so today I want to bring to you a practice that is so powerful and yet so simple. It comes from a Hawaiian shamanic lineage, and you may have heard of it before, and you may be hearing about it for the first time today. I'm going to give you a little bit deeper context than I knew about when I first learned it, and I'm really excited to share it with you. So the practice so the practice today is called Ho'oponopono. And this is a prayer that my understanding of exactly the lineage is a little bit fuzzy, but I believe it was created um, based on shamanic Hawaiian ideas that were passed down for generations by a woman named Kahuna Morna Simeona. And I could be saying that totally wrong. I'm going to be totally clear. And it was made very popular by Joe Vitale. And this story of a man named Dr. Hugh Len. And Dr. Hugh Len was he was assigned to a facility in a mental health facility for the criminally insane in Hawaii. So Dr. Hugh was assigned to this hospital from 1983 to 1987. And the story goes that he would walk around the hospital ward and he never actually saw or treated any patients, despite being this renowned psychologist that was assigned to this facility. And what is claimed is that he would go to his office for hours at a time and he would practice this prayer, Ho'oponopono. And I will be explaining the prayer in English for you to be able to use. And he would study the patient's file and he would use the prayer with them. And he would do this over and over and over again. And this hospital was known to be one of the most chaotic in all of Hawaii. And over time, these patients would heal and they would become calm, confident human beings and would be released out of the hospital. And slowly but surely, so many patients were released that the hospital actually closed down. When asked how this was possible, Dr. Hugh responded that I only healed the parts of me that created them. So this is a much bigger idea that will feed into a lot of other things that we will learn. But this was an experiment essentially in the very fact that your thoughts affect other people. Other people's thoughts affect you. And we can all heal wounds far beyond us. So Ho'oponopono in English actually translates to, I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And this can be used in any number of circumstances. It's particularly useful in occasions where you are deeply triggered by somebody else's behavior, which is a lot of what we've talked about today. And it can be used in any other place to change your seeing of another person. And it can be uncomfortable to say this, especially when you feel attacked, when you feel triggered. And yet it's deeply, deeply powerful. If you're in conflict with anybody, saying this to yourself in your mind with that person coming to mind through the whole time over and over. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Now, the part that was not shared with me when I originally learned this is what made it that much more powerful for me. You see, I was originally given this prayer without any of the background by someone I was talking to about some relationship problems I'd run into and fears that I was going to lose my husband because of some of my behaviors towards him, that I had been quite attacking towards him. And yet I was also not loving his responses to me. This was far before we were married or even engaged. And she asked me, have you ever tried just saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you? And I'd never heard of this before. And she just said, I just want you to start waking up every day and you open your eyes and you see him. Say these words to yourself over and over until you feel ready to get up from bed and just see what changes. Years later, I would learn that this was actually this prayer and that there was so much deeper healing and understanding behind it than I ever knew. Now, the part that I didn't ever hear before, I started studying this deeper within one of my lineages of teachers, is that when we're going through the process of prayer, especially in the moments of trigger, we're not only saying it to them, that person, we're saying it to the parts of ourselves that felt deeply alone, left behind, and scared, the ones that are so triggered in this moment and afraid because they may be fully seen, because they also may attack. That part of you is also really who you're saying this prayer to. I'm so sorry. I haven't been there for you in this moment, in these moments in the past. Please forgive me. I promise to always be here with you now. Thank you for accepting me. I love you. It's a radical change on how we look at our triggers, our emotionally difficult situations, and it can be life-changing. This one prayer has changed my life in more ways than I could ever explain. And so today, we bring it into practice, and we bring it into practice by allowing ourselves, whenever any moment comes up of conflict, to bring the prayer into mind. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Repeat it as many times as necessary in those moments. I would like you to also take 3 times today where you search your mind for these experiences that have caused emotional turmoil in your life, people, places. Don't seek too deeply. Don't pull up big past traumas. Just allow what comes up to come up and use it on one or two instances. All right, so if it looks like there is a little bit of a reframe here, my phone died right at the end. So here I am again. We were just finishing up the practices a couple times today, 2 to 3 times, allowing yourself to come present, view any thoughts, experiences, traumas that come up with care and compassion, using the prayer, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Repeat that as many times as needed. This should only last about a minute or two each time. And of course, use it in any conflict that arises today and whenever you want to in the future. Thank you so much for joining me. I am so grateful for your commitment to being here. If you've stumbled upon this somewhere on the internet, YouTube, Spotify, somewhere else, I'm Jamie O'Connor. This is Rewired. It's 365 days of practices for the spiritually curious high achiever. And if you're interested in joining, getting daily email reminders and additional resources, and potentially even a community for accountability and support and reflections, you can check that out at inspiredfocus.link/rewired. So grateful for you. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow on day 24. Bye.